All right, family. We in the house with the general. You already know what time it is. We ain't got nothing but fire for you today. That's right, family. We're gonna be tapping in, showing the greatness and of all the singers and actors and musicians and those who had tapped into the science, the comedic science, and man. And when you look at this, man, and you weigh it out, hey man, all the greats, man, tapped into the comedic science, man. That's just all it is to it. It's irrefutable, man. It's irrefutable. We're gonna break it down for you today. How much did Michael Jackson know about the occult and the ancient Egyptian mysteries? And it's obviously he knew a whole lot. They say this man was sitting there sleeping in some type of damn hyperbolic goddamn chamber. The man was in there and man, Mike was doing all type of things. I seen it for myself, at a very early age, man. Mike was already tapping in at a very early age. I seen him where, he had to be hanging around some Masons, some Freemasons, because I seen him throwing up hand signs. You feel what I'm saying? And so, that speaks volumes. And even when we go back when he was still with the Jackson 5, and they dropped Can You Feel It? You know what I'm saying? Which was full of occult symbolisms and things of that nature. But we really want and while we here, we might as well tap in right now. I want y'all to get on over here. This is a powerful piece on Patreon. We talking about the cult of Saturn, control of black music. Man, listen here, there's no getting around that majority of all the elites, man. I don't give a goddamn what it is, whether it's in music, whether it's in politics, whether it's in academia or whatever. When you start rubbing elbows with them elites and you go into the masonry, you go into the fraternity, sorority, you go into the higher up levels of Freemasonry, shrine, whatever it is, you're going to tap in to the comedic science. That's just all it is to it. And so we showing and proving that it is no way that we going, while everybody else tapped in, you feel what I'm saying? While everybody else tapped in, everybody, they telling you to run from your own science. Your own science, man. They telling you to run from you's a fool, nigga, and you gonna perish. You gonna perish following behind a fool. You know what I'm saying? When you can visibly for yourself look at Kemet, and it's self-evident that was the most prolific, regardless to what fairy tales a nigga tell you, how grandioso tall tales, bedtime stories, and all of that. When you see that's why they don't want you to go. See, that's why they don't want you to even touch down in Kemet. they don't even want it. They don't even want you to touch down because they know by your own intellect and your own spiritual awareness, you gonna make a discernment your damn self. You're gonna be like, I'll be damned. You know what I'm saying? When I first went to the pyramid, a motherfucker couldn't even prepare me for what I saw. You know what I'm saying? When I looked up at the Great Pyramid of Giza and I looked up, man, all I could say was, damn. And I meant it. Some people say damn, but I'm like, damn, how did they do it? You know what I'm saying? That's all you can. When you can go anywhere else in the world, but when you come into Kemet, you be like, damn, how did they do it? No other place, and you know how they did it. But this right here is so, the astronomy, the astrology. You see and you know that the level of the Kemetic Kushite science was, when you look at the pyramids, people think, when they look at the pyramids and then they come over to the, the math and the spiritual, that somehow that they, that level of mathematics and is, less than the pyramid. No, every science that the ancient Egyptians dealt in was on the level of the pyramid, even the medicine, even the astronomy, even the astrology. I actually believe if anybody ever died and came back, it was some of our ancestors in in the Nile Valley, straight up. Them is the only that at least was able to, communicate back to the, you know what I'm saying, with the proper communication to let us know the exact science on how to achieve salvation. So if I'm gonna believe anybody, I'm gonna believe my ancestors out of the Nile Valley. And it's obvious that Michael had tapped in at an early age, because Dick Gregory had already said Michael had tapped in. Said he had literature and everything up in his room. You feel what I'm saying? He had literature, up in his room, and he was well aware of the Kemetic science. Because when you look at a lot of Earth, Wind, and Fire, and we're going to talk about Earth, Wind, and Fire, man, it's like every damn album cover that Earth, Wind, and Fire ever put out. I'm talking about greats. See, I'm not going to go now. See, I'm showing you. When somebody show you something, show me the greats. Don't show me the bottom feeders and say, oh, this is no. Don't do me like that. Show me the greats. When I'm showing you people that's tapping into the African consciousness, and they the greatest in their field, and nobody can ever touch them in what they do. You see what I'm saying? And so when we look at Mike, we look at Earth, Wind, and Fire is considered probably the best band all times. You see what I'm saying? They consider one of the best bands of all time. And man, I tapping in, I say, damn, everything this man, the one brother, his name was Maurice. I think he was the lead singer, the one that really put the thing together. And he passed on, you know what I'm saying? He passed on, but he was African centered. The man he had mastered that one African instrument. I had one. I believe it's the one you play with your fingers. You know what I'm saying? And I believe he had mastered that instrument. And so, so in all of his garb and in a lot of the garb of Earth, Wind, but I see some of that in Michael Jackson. You see what I'm saying? That Kemetic, you know what I'm saying? And the shit that he be wearing, especially when you had that, he had that gold, like it's almost like, it's a comma bomb. But you know what? It's almost like you wear when you going to, but he had two on and they was gold, but that's symbolic of the wings. You feel what I'm saying? That, hey, Rue, you feel what I'm saying? So, I seen that Earth, Wind, and Fire already had that type of, them costumes. You feel me? And so I say, damn, when I seen it, I say, okay, I believe that's where Mike got that from. You know what I'm saying? So it's wild how the greats, they tapped in. They was into that occultism. You know what I'm saying? Heavy, back in the, into in the 70s and the 60s, because that's when Aleister and I don't fuck with that Aleister Crowley at all. It was other occultists out there, but most definitely, it was, when that hippie shit was out there, Woodstock and all of that. Aleister Crowley was like one of them icons for them hippies that like to get high and go do rituals. They don't know what the hell. Aleister is a perpetrator. You know what I'm saying? He's a perpetrator. There's nothing you can get from a Neanderthal, especially when the basis of occultism, alchemy, the chem is melanin. And once you don't, is evident you don't possess that, then all you doing is making up rituals that you had And what they have to do, they have to use synthetic means, you see, to, when you ain't got melanin, you see, they had to use a synthetic replacement, and there you go. That all of that, they just show you, and that's where they get that wicked tree from. They get wicked. You ain't got no melanin, you ain't got no connection to the sun. We solar beings, you see. It ain't no way you could be a solar being without melanin, and so that's the key to that. But man, listen here, and and you see Michael back there with them naga eyes, the serpentine, going back to even further than the Kemetic, but of course the Kemetic science, because many of our great gods and goddesses was shown. And I did the Naga. I got so many lectures on the Naga or the serpentine mysticism. It's ridiculous. You see what I'm saying? So when you see that and you really tap in and you know what it means, that it's a connection that been made that cannot be denied. And so for that man, that's another thing, because he knew some shit. He was weird now, he was weird, and we are not gonna negate that. But it was also some science that he didn't tapped into that allowed him to go to a level, and he did that shit at an early age, long before he started, pilling and shit. You know what I'm saying? Nah, I don't want to make no fun of the man, but the man did, went to messing with his face, and that don't negate that. So somewhere along the line, you didn't took that oath. You didn't took that oath, nigga, and that's what happened when you take that oath. They not gonna let Michael Jackson, and the man still look black, and he done tapped in, and he the #1 artist of all times. You feel what I'm saying? He black, he got an afro, and you know what I'm saying? And he's he's giving off this aura, man. You look, he got 5 brothers look just like him. They ain't want that. You know what I'm saying? So again, they wanted to poison that science, from them. And whatever, he didn't have nobody that could lead him. And of course, that does not excuse a goddamn thing that he did, but it show you that he wasn't the only one, because you can look at all the rest of them that damn near went down the same damn path. When it comes to the greatest of our artists, you understand what I'm saying? They know that African connection. When you tap in, you feel what I'm saying? When you tap in, you already know, you see, that they gonna want to control that at all times. This is what they have done, especially the music, because they know that the music is the elixir to the African soul. It opens up, music, you know what I'm saying? It opens up chambers. And so that musician is a priest. That musician is a priest. That's just like the Mazarin, Bilal, when he go in. See, they couldn't do that. They couldn't do it like Bilal, the African. The African get up there and, the Mazarins for Islam, and they be, motherfucker, get to crying and shit. You know what I'm saying? They think is actually a damn angel up there singing. You feel what I'm saying? They say Bilal used to sing and motherfucker be out there crying. Man, blowing hard. You feel me? Even back then, and so they couldn't sing like that. They had to get a recording of a black person and play the shit over a record player, just so they could emulate, the greatness of our voice, because, that's how profound it is. And so that's the only thing that then kept the black church alive is the gospel. I'm just being real with you. If it wasn't for gospel music, the black church would have fell down long ago. You can't sell that many chicken dinners and keep niggas coming. You know what I'm saying? Shit, niggas ain't gonna get up, early in the morning like that just for no damn chicken dinner. Majority of niggas and greens and macaroni. Some people will, but at the same time, it was the gospel music that really kept the black church alive. If it was not for that, it would have been gone a long time ago. You see, it would have been gone a long time ago. So even in that, you see, regardless, that ain't nothing but Kemetic knowledge. You see, when you think about it and you get into the science of the Bible, all it is comedic science. So yeah, we gonna since his what is it? What they call it? A biopic? His documentary is out. We most definitely want to tap in and while peoples is out here, they want to fraudulate and put all type of scandals out on the man. Man was found not guilty. Weird, but he was found not guilty. And so you can't because the media want to slander a man's name. If the peers of that man looked at all the evidence and they found the man not guilty, and so we want to at least at that point, because if somebody you go before a court or whatever and you found not guilty, I mean, you would want the same thing. You would want somebody, you would want your freedom, but a lot of time they don't want to give it to you, especially if you on the hit list. But family, stay with me. Make sure you get on over there, because this right here what is going to talk a lot about the occult organization and elite, and that cult of Saturn is deep, man. I'm gonna tell y'all, because when you talk about Saturn in the Roman pantheon, he was the chief deity. When you go up there and look into that goddamn Sistine Chapel, that's who you see. When you go in there and they say Saint Peter and they show that black statue of Saint Peter in the Peter's Basilica, and he got that ring around, that's Saturn. And then you go down there and you see what they call Moses, and which ain't Moses, it's Pan. You see what I'm saying? With the horns, and he got the goatee on his beard. You see, Saturn was also the chief deity of the treasury. Okay, he was the treasury was kept in the temple of Saturn. You feel what I'm saying? And so, down through the ages, they morphed in what you call the Knights Templar. They morphed into what you call today the Jewish banking system. And if you go over there into London, not London, the city of London, which is a small city inside of London, where all the bankers and the Knights Templar, that became the cult and still is the cult of Saturn. They control the economics on this planet and have since the Roman Empire. And so, hey, listen to me. Get over there and check that out. It's Fire Family. Click the link and I'll be right back. Black Pop.